You all need to stay back. Whatever happens now, you do not interfere. Clear?
That's an astronaut. That's an Apollo astronaut in a lake.
Hello. It's okay, I know it's you. Well then.
What's he doing?
Amy! Stay back! Doctor, stay back! No! We have to stay back! Doctor!
I'm sorry.
No! Doctor! Doctor, please! River!
Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined with...
Hello, I'm Scott, and we are back with old episodes of Doctor Who. It's been a while.
It has been. I was watching this episode and I was like, God, it's been weird watching Doctor Who and it feels like this. This isn't what Doctor Who's like.
Oh, it feels weird to watch Doctor Who, but it's properly paced.
Yeah, so this week we are, of course, looking at The Impossible Astronaut, the kick-off to Series 6, Matt Smith's second series as the Doctor, and my second favourite series of his. I like his third run. His third series probably the best, but, you know, I like... all the episodes you hate, I hate, you know.
You like Series 7 the most? Is that what you just said?
Out of Matt Smith's run, I think, I like this season a lot. I like this season a lot out of Matt Smith's run. But I like Angels Take Manhattan. I like the stuff with Clara. I like I like all the ones that you hate.
Oh, that's a season we haven't actually covered yet, so...
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to go back to it. It's been a while, so maybe it's just my memories of it just soured. But Series 5 is my favorite. Series 6 is second favorite.
Oh, wow.
Series 7 is third favorite. So it goes downhill.
Yeah. Series 5 is my least favorite. I'm
so
not a
bizarre.
huge fan of Series 5. Yeah, no, Series 6, I like the wacky, like the ultra mystery box Moffat, where he's like, ha 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 ha, I'm so clever, look at this big puzzle I've made, which I really like. And I like the emotion in Series 7. I like the like Matt Smith's playing like a totally different Doctor in Series 7 than he is in the other two seasons, but I really like that version of him as the Doctor. And it's just got a lot of cool episodes I like in it. Whereas Series 5, when I even in rewatching it, it's still really good. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it sound like it's still a really good series of television. But there's more episodes in that where I'm like, whatever, compared to 6 and 7.
See, Series 5 is probably my high point, but I haven't seen it from start to finish since 2010. I've seen every episode since then, but I haven't seen it from start to finish. So I need to rewatch Doctor Who, but there's not enough time, you know? I'm still struggling with classic Who. I'm still not off the Hartnell train. Neither are you, but
I really struggle with classic Who. Hartnell is tough. I can't find the time or the willingness to be like, okay, we're gonna watch some William Hartnell Doctor Who. This will be fun.
maybe you just need to jump straight to Troughton. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, but then the little voice in my head says that I cheated. So
I mean, you haven't seen an episode of classic Doctor Who in where you're at since 2 years ago. So it's been a while. Since
it's been a
you've
while.
watched it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's not good, and there's so much better things to be doing with my time. Anyway, we are looking at The Impossible Astronaut, as I said, an episode that first aired on the 23rd of April, 2011, which was an upsetting 13 years, 2 months, and 11 days ago at the time of recording. I was 11 years old when this episode aired, and I remember just adoring it. But
yeah, same. I remember I wasn't the same age as you. I was like, oh god, how old was I? 13, I think. Yeah, that makes sense.
14? You're 3 years old. Oh, well, your birthday's later in the year, yeah.
Yeah, my birthday's at the end of the year, so it's kind of, I adored this episode. What a way to open, and that's a review. Bye-bye. That's us. Bye.
Yes, but before we jump into this episode, if we stay on this day, the 23rd of April, Prime Minister at the time, very relevant for now. So we're recording this on election night. This could come out to a whole new world, Scott.
Oh,
this could come out.
Hopefully.
This could come out, yeah, hopefully to not...
Come on, Nigel.
Scott is joking.
Or am I?
Or is he? Yeah. David Cameron was Prime Minister at the time, of course, most famous for putting his penis inside a pig. And the US President was one Barack Obama, most famous for his love of drones. It was a fun time in the world. It was pretty cool. Could you guess what is absolutely eating up money in the box office? I have both the United States and America. They are two different movies, although they are like the one in the UK becomes #1 in the US like next week. So they're like it's. If you guessed one of them, I would be like, yeah, fair. Anyway, the US box office, April 23rd, Saturday. What's raking in the money? It is a classic movie.
A classic movie.
I say sarcastically.
Okay, so it's really bad then. Okay. 2011. Transformers, G.I. Joe. I'm thinking, summer movie season. It's the start of the summer.
It's April. April is, I wouldn't call the start of the summer.
Yeah, but, when, like, Avengers opens up in April. That's the start of the, like, summer movie season is just fucked up now because Disney kept on releasing movies earlier and earlier. So,
when
was
the first Avengers movie? 2012?
2012, yeah, it was like May 1st in America, but like April 23rd for us or something like that, a week before.
A hint is this movie, I just need to double check the cast. This movie does star an X-Man. There you go. That's
famously a small movie cast.
That narrows it down from millions of actors. No, it's not.
Okay, because I would have guessed movie 43 if it was Hugh Jackman.
Except movie 43 didn't make any money.
True. Is it James? Oh, is it James Marsters. Is it Hop?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is Hop. See, it was a good hint.
Oh Christ!
Is making a lot of money in the box office this weekend. #1 in the United States. If you do not know what Hop is, here is the Wikipedia summary. Hop is a 2011 American live-action animated Easter fantasy comedy film produced by Relativity Media and Illumination Entertainment, distributed by Universal. It was directed by Tim Hill, produced by Chris Mandolini. Here's a bunch of other names as well. On Easter Island, a young rabbit named E.B. is intended to succeed his father as the Easter Bunny. Ignoring his father's orders, E.B. runs away to Hollywood to pursue his dream of becoming a drummer. In Van Nuys, E.B. is hit by Fred O'Hare. I honestly didn't know that was his name. An out-of-work job-hopping slacker who was driving to his sister Sam's boss's house to house-sit after his parents forced him to move out. What a mouthful. Feigning injury, E.B. persuades Fred to take him in as he recovers, and shenanigans ensues. It's about an Easter bunny that is real and meets Cyclops. And the Easter Bunny is, of course, Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Who else would it be?
Did you say it's made by Relativity Media?
That's what it said.
Okay,
Yep.
so we both watch a podcast called the H3 Podcast. Currently, the host of that podcast, Stephen Klein, is in a lawsuit with the guy who owns Relativity Media. So, by all accounts,
That's interesting.
Ryan Kavanagh, not a good dude.
Yeah, if you go onto Relativity, whose Wikipedia page, you have the 2015 bankruptcy, followed by a reorganization, followed by a 2018 bankruptcy.
God, yeah, just an absolute nightmare. But yeah, Ryan Kavanagh, bad person.
Yeah.
Russell Brand, bad person. What is his name? James Marsters. We just kind of find out that he's a bad person earlier this year when we found out that he wrote a letter of recommendation as a character witness saying this guy is a good guy to a guy who's been accused of being a so have a sex pest. Yeah, so and also, I wound up watching like 20 minutes of that movie because it was on TV around Easter earlier this year. Absolutely fucking awful. And there's a reference to J.K. Rowling in one scene, which
I saw it multiple times as a child. We had it on DVD, and my younger siblings loved it, and I think I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and then subsequently enjoyed it less and less as I was exposed to it more as a kid. Did not enjoy Hop.
Yeah,
but
that's a movie that came out when I was a bit too old, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking see this fucking Easter egg, this Easter bunny movie.
I was right on the tipping point, you know, when you're starting to be like, oh, this is a bit like a kid's movie. Speaking of, if we hop over the pond real quick to the UK, hop over, because it was the Easter Bunny of funny jokes.
There's an astronaut coming out of that pond, is there?
Good job trying to get the episode back on the rails. We're talking about the UK films now.
Okay,
what do you think is raking in #1 at the box office?
Oh God!
It is more of a classic in the literal sense than Hop. It's still not like amazing. It's like 7 out of 10 maybe, and it is another family film. Just to give you lots of hints. Animated
2011. It's it can't be Despicable Me 2 because Illumination also did Hop. It's the same company, so 2 movies at once doesn't make sense. 2011. God,
2011.
I have no memories of this year. Can you give me a hint? What studio?
Blue Sky?
Blue Sky, is it real?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is Rio.
Okay, remember like 2 minutes ago when I said I was a little too old for kids movies around this time? I saw Rio,
Yeah.
so I guess I wasn't. I saw a better movie. Okay.
But yeah, but I mean, I think what a lot of the times when you associate kids film, you think like bad movie.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a good movie, you don't even register as the target audience for this is kids because it's just well made. Whereas if it's something is like outwardly shit, you can be like, oh, kids will like this because they have no sense of taste. But yeah, Rio is a pretty fun time. I remember enjoying that as a kid as well. I never saw the sequel.
Never did I. I was too old for a sequel.
Yeah.
Rio is perfectly fine from what I remember. Rest in peace, Blue Sky Studios, because Disney bought Fox and Fox owned Blue Sky Studios. So, yeah.
I love giant corporations eating giant corporations.
It's fucking great, isn't it?
Very cool. Very cool time to be alive. But yes, that is what is raking up the money in the UK. Other than that, I don't have too much about On This Day. I don't know if you've got a writer's corner for us to dive into, Scott, about The Impossible Astronaut, or if we're just jumping into the episode.
Not really, but I have a few things to say. Well, not on this day in history, but 4 days before this episode aired, we found out as a nation, essentially, because it was really devastating news. This was heartbreaking for me as a kid. On the 19th of April 2011, Elizabeth Sladen, who played Sarah Jane Smith, passed away from breast cancer. And I don't know if you remember where you were when you heard the news, but when I first heard of it, I was just getting ready for bed, and all of a sudden this news broke. I started crying. I think that's the first celebrity death I actually had an impact over. It really hit me. It was really devastating. And if one after that was Robin Williams, those are the top 2 celebrity deaths that just really hit me.
I celebrity deaths never super hit me hard. Whenever I hear, like, even if it's a celebrity I super loved, if a celebrity dies, I'm like, damn, that sucks. But
Yeah.
I've never cried or anything for them. It's just I don't know, a robot inside. But it was tragic. I don't remember where I was when the news broke, but I would have been 11 years old, so
Yeah.
I probably just heard it on the news or something when I went home, and it would happen to be on TV. But yeah.
But yeah,
Tragic stuff.
it's a huge loss because she was just so good. She managed to span 2 generations of kids who are really into Doctor Who. That's impressive. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Also, why did this episode shoot in America, Matthew? Because Series 5 was a massive hit for BBC America when they aired it, and they really wanted to co-produce the series opener. So these 2 episodes are co-produced at least, by BBC America, which doesn't have a long history of a show. In 2009, they started picking up the rights. They aired episodes like 2 weeks after they aired over here, and then Series 6 was a big one for them because they were like, yeah, we want to be on board, we want to air it on exactly the same day. And now BBC America don't even have a show anymore, so BBC America is such a weird
That's insane.
mess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, at the moment, BBC America primarily airs shows and movies like Star Trek or Bones or
These famous British shows.
or Law and Order.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. There's like almost no BBC shows apart from some like David Attenborough content, but that's really it. It's really bizarre.
That is strange. Obviously because we don't live in America, I never think of BBC
Yeah.
America when I think of the BBC, so I didn't even consider, obviously they don't have Doctor Who because on Disney Plus in America.
Yeah.
Strange.
So Moffat really wanted to open up this season on a big note, and I think he achieved that, honestly. Because obviously, Because obviously the opening episode is the highest rated of a season usually. It's when people are most interested in watching the show. And it makes sense to make the highest rated episode of a season the most important to watch. You know, and if you're really into it, you want to be hooked onto what happens next week. It feels weird to me that more seasons don't do a big opener like this, because usually it's just a throwaway episode almost. You know, like we just had the Space Babies as our series opener, and that's like the most throwaway episode of all time.
It's legit. It sucks. I think Impossible Astronaut, it's one of those series openers that I still remember. You know, like there's plenty of seasons where I don't really remember like what the series opener was. I reckon I could probably get them all, but that's just because I've seen the show a lot of times. But like if I'm not thinking about Doctor Who, like I can easily recall the Impossible Astronaut. That's like one where I go to recommend the show. That's the scene that flashes in my head. You know, when I talk about Matt Smith's season and why I like Matt Smith as the Doctor, this is a story that flashes in my head because it's so goddamn good. It's immediately gripping, and I remember watching this as a kid and just thinking it was the best goddamn TV I'd ever seen in my life. You know?
God, like the first 12 minutes of this episode alone is just non-stop, and the main character fucking dies. Like,
I know,
what
it's insane.
shock.
It's absolutely insane.
Like there is downtime to this episode, but it is almost no downtime. It's impressive work for sure. This is actually the first episode ever made in America. There is some shots of like the TV movie that does use footage in America, but that movie was shot in Canada, and you know most of classic Doctor Who was shot in a studio in Britain or in a quarry.
Yeah.
So this is the first proper episode to be shot in America, and they really go all out on it. It is some really good shots, especially that fucking lake. That is incredible. That is beautiful.
Yeah. I remember watching this as a kid and finding it so goddamn strange that they were actually in America.
Yeah.
Because like the Doctor Who like previously just never went to America. It was always London. It was always London, never America. And I remember watching that and be like, God, it feels weird. Doctor Who's not supposed to be in America. What is this?
Yeah, this felt fucking huge as a kid. It's hard to explain it for people who weren't around at the time, but, you know, the lead up to this alone was just massive. I remember there was, like, a Doctor Who magazine, and you could collect 4 different covers, and one cover was the Doctor, one was Amy, one was Rory, and one was River Song, and you can connect the 4 covers, and they actually connected, which was, you know, the big craze at the time was, oh, let's throw out like 7 different comic book covers essentially. It still is a craze. It's insane just how many variants comic books have. It's depressing.
Everything's a collectible.
So the original title for this was called Look Behind You, and episode 2 would have been Year of the Moon, but apparently Stephen's son, who was like 6 years old, really hated it. He said, I think we can do better, Daddy. We need clever, not cheesy, which is what is what Stephen Moffat said his son said. I don't think he would have said
Stephen
that.
Moffat doesn't know how kids talk.
He doesn't.
Not
It's
even his
really
own
bizarre.
kids. Not like no. You know, like can't even voice his own child who's speaking directly to him. Yeah.
And final bit of trivia. This was the first episode where Alex Kingston found out the backstory to River Song. So if you watch this episode,
Moffat figured it out.
Yeah, this is when Alex Kingston could actually play the character properly with full knowledge of her background. And you can watch multiple scenes to point them out, but she does a really good job with this information, and nobody else knew, which is great because it really works, doesn't it?
It does. That was another thing I was thinking about. Is I forgot. I don't know. I forgot that we don't all just already know that River is the Doctor's wife. I take that for so for granted that, of course, yes, River Song, that's the Doctor's wife. I forgot it was a twist. I forgot it's a big reveal. I forgot because she plays the part so well and so believably, and once you get that reveal of who she actually is, it makes everything like make sense. You're like, oh, of course, yeah, that is who River is. Yeah.
Oh God,
just an amazing character.
So for people watching this in the future, we just came off of series 14, season 1, which is now it's called. But we just came off of season 1, where there's also a mysterious woman who comes in every now and again, and we still don't know who she is. But the problem with Mrs. Flood is the fact that she doesn't have a character. She just turns to the camera and says, "Ooh, I'm mysterious. Look how mysterious I am." Whereas River's song feels like a character feels like the character came first and the mystery came second, which is really important. Like in season 5 of the show, you really get to know who River Song is just before the mystery gets unfolded. And you can understand where she's coming from, what what her relationship is to other people, what she would do in certain situations. Like, you understand River Song from front to back almost, apart from some key details. But she feels like a real livable character, whereas Mrs. Flood, we don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. We're still before series 2, so there's every chance that the Mrs. Flood reveal is actually perfect. If you're watching this way in the future, if you're watching this way in the future, and you're like, why are they bad-mouthing Mrs. Flood, the Doctor's grandma? She's the best. So maybe there's a brighter future ahead. I don't believe there is, because the setup has been so atrocious. But even the way that, like, even you are correct, and like even the way that these two characters' mysteries are set up, like River is handled so much better and actually compelling. Whereas I don't give a shit who Mrs. Flood is.
Even with River Song, there is still some pandering to the audience who don't quite. Who may be watching this for the first time. Like, there's lines in this episode where the Doctor's like, "Oh, you're still a mystery. I still have to figure out." And this
is episode 1 of the new season, so you've got people coming in who've never seen the show before.
Yeah, but at the same time, thank God, River Song.
Yeah.
Well, I have some problems with River Song as a kid, but now I'm really on board with River Song. Like, in comparison to Mrs. Flood, I mean,
it's kind of like how I became with Clara.
Yeah.
Where it's like, God, I miss Clara so much in comparison to Yaz and Graham and stuff. Which is, it's made me really appreciate them. Maybe I'm gonna miss. God, Graham. I do miss Graham.
I miss Graham too, but even in this episode, there's some conflict between the Doctor and his companions, which
I know
we've really been missing in season 1. Like, genius idea to use that set. By the way, just underneath the TARDIS console is where people have their secret conversations from the Doctor. That's genius. You need that.
Yeah.
And
they come back to that multiple times as well.
God, I really hope there's more conflict within the TARDIS in future episodes, but
just conflict between any characters would be nice.
Yeah. But anyway, with that said, would you like to jump into The Impossible Astronaut?
Yes, of course. Oh my God, almost half an hour in. Let us now break down The Impossible Astronaut. Now what?
So, the Doctor, in the future, knowing he's going to die, recruits his younger self and all of us to what exactly? Avenge him?
Avenging's not his style.
Say then.
Yeah, that's not really his style either.
We have to tell him.
We've told him all we can. We can't even tell him we've seen his future self. He's interacted with his own past. He could rip a hole in the universe.
Except he's done it before.
And in fairness, the universe did blow up.
But we want to know.
Would he? Would anyone?
I'm being extremely clever up here, and there's no one to stand around looking impressed. What's the point in having you all?
So this episode opens up with a painting of the Doctor naked, a pretty bold way to open up an episode, let alone a season of TV. Love it, and it's like Renaissance era time. It's like Bridgerton.
This opening, watching it on opening night, on the first night it aired, was kind of insane because just before this, rest in peace, Elizabeth Sladen. Oh look, Matt Smith's naked. The tonal shift.
Yeah, and these bunch of posh dudes with swords come rushing in to a room looking for the Doctor, but there's just a woman standing there in a dress who assures them that the Doctor isn't here, until of course the Doctor sneezes because to steal a line from Bo Burnham, he is allergic to one type of cat. As
okay.
the cat
Yeah, you told me you had a joke.
I did. I said I was going to steal a joke. Yeah, I had to. As they lift up her dress to
Matthew,
find Matt Smith naked.
This is a family friendly podcast. You fuck.
I'm sorry, Matt Smith is naked underneath that woman's dress, and they've come barging in, trying to catch this man who I assume has been up to all sorts of scandalous activities with the women around the place.
But yeah, this is kind of an insane episode to come back to because I always remember Matt Smith's Doctor famously asexual. Now he's naked under a lady's dress. He's flirting with River Song constantly.
Super horny with River Song, yeah.
Did I have a wrong reading of Matt Smith's Doctor?
he's experimenting around, trying to figure himself out a bit.
Or maybe I think it's just fucking Moffat's horny, so the Doctor's horny now, you know?
The River's got a line. She's got a line later in this episode where she's like, "Oh, I'm a screamer." By the way, something you should learn about me. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, Moffat, were you?
There is a cut scene in this episode where River Song was supposed to be naked, and you can only see her from like a mid close up or whatever you want to call that shot, but she was supposed to be naked and it was in the trailers. So if you want to see brief nudity from River Song, go and look at
some shoulder action.
6.
You get some really good shoulder action.
She winks at another guy off screen, so that's what she does in that deleted scene. Apparently it was too naughty for the BBC to air, and I don't think so. I think it's just more of a case of the scene serves no purpose because, the Doctor's naked underneath a woman's dress. I think that's a bigger... Yeah. Don't do that, kids.
Or do that with consent.
Yeah, with consent. Yeah, sure.
But we're cutting in between these with scenes of Amy and Rory reading up about events with a mysterious Doctor in the past, getting up into all sorts of shenanigans as they're trying to figure out where the Doctor is, as they haven't seen him for a wee while. The Doctor is in The Great Escape for a moment, and then we cut to Amy and Rory watching
Laurel and
oh my God,
Hardy.
what are they watching? Yes, and Rory goes on, he's got a fantastic line where Amy's like, "Why are we watching this again?" And he's like, "Well, I've explained all the jokes." So they watched it a first time and Amy didn't like it, so he explained it to her and made her watch it a second time. Fantastic. Such amazing amounts of character discovery and just a few little jokey lines of dialogue,
Compared to not to go on the same train, but compared to like the 11th Doctor companions or even Ruby, you don't really discover what they do in their day-to-day lives. But this feels like a lived-in marriage. They've had time off screen since they got married, and now they've just had time together. They're back together. I kind of miss the feeling of we're catching up with these characters. It's been a while for them. It's been a while for us. So we're just getting back into who is Rory. He is the geeky husband. I miss that.
Yeah. I really, yeah, it was what I liked about Rory and Amy as traveling companions is it was nice to have companions that were just happy together. You know,
Yeah.
like obviously there was conflict, especially I think in series 6. Series 6. Sorry, I don't know series 5. I mean, this is series 6, so series 5.
Yes.
Especially in like series 5, where Amy's much more flirty with the Doctor and outwardly trying to get, because she's not married to Rory yet. But when her and Rory get married and they're just like a couple, it's such a nice energy to have. Like, here's just the couple and their weird ADHD friend that comes over to see them every now and then, you know?
Yeah, oh god, I love the twist. Well, it's not really a twist, but I love the idea of, yeah, the companions go home. It's been years. Sometimes they have years at home without seeing the Doctor. I think that's a great little idea. You know, they have independent lives and they can grow and expand off screen almost.
And it also stops the Doctor being such an asshole that picks up somebody for like 3 months of their life, shows them the entire universe, and then goes, right, bye, never see you again. Or he's just in their life forever.
There are 3 companions in this episode, and each companion has something to do, which is lovely. You know, I miss more than one companion having something to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And having like personality, and I like all of them for different reasons. And yeah, no, it's nice to have some fleshed out characters, isn't it? But they get a letter through the door that is TARDIS blue and not signed by anybody and has coordinates on it. So obviously they take this as a sign from the Doctor, and we see that River Song gets the same letter and starts packing her bags, as her security guard says. Why did they let her have bags? Why is she able to pack things, you know? Why has she got belongings? She's in a prison.
I fucking love Doctor Who for the way, you know, the Master dies in every episode almost. And when he comes back, it's never explained how he's come back.
Yeah.
River Song can escape prison
Just gets
at
out of
any
prison,
time she
yeah.
wants, and just return like the next day.
Yeah.
It's like a hotel.
Like, okay. Yeah.
There's no consequences to her sentence or anything like that.
We cut to America, where Amy and Rory come out of a bus, a yellow school bus.
Yes.
I don't understand how they managed to get a yellow school bus out into the middle of the desert.
Oh god, they must be fucking loaded. They must have given this guy so much money to drive them out into the middle of nowhere. Especially in America, you know. Like, if you're an American and you're like a school bus driver and 2 strange foreigners come into your bus and are like, yeah, can you drive us into the middle of nowhere? You'd expect to be shot. It's America, for God's sake.
The only logic that I can think behind it specifically being a school bus that's taking them out is, if you're like Moffat writing this, what's a more iconic shot in your head of America than a long desert road and an iconic American school bus? Because we don't have buses like that over here, you know. So seeing something like that, instantly you're like, oh, we're in America now, you know.
This road, by the way, this road is the road where Forrest Gump stops running in Forrest Gump. You know, he gets really tired at one point and he's like, I'm done.
Wow.
Yeah,
Forrest Gump
road.
shot the Doctor.
Good movie.
Yeah. It's fun. I haven't seen it in a while.
Same here. I've probably not watched it since I've gained an understanding of American history, so
Yeah,
so some bits of it might not hold up as well, you know.
Well, we'll see. We shall see. But Amy and Rory come out and they are met by one Matt Smith on top of a red Cadillac. Again, what's more iconic America than sitting on a giant red car with a cowboy hat on in the desert? You know?
Also, what is the story of this car being here? Because we don't see it again. Where does it go? How did the Doctor get it? Did he rent it?
making the
What's going
Doctor
on?
drive a car. Yeah, but it's a cool as fuck shot, and the Doctor looks great. He's got a fun line, which it's a very Stephen Moffat line of repeating the Fez joke, because it's like the
Yeah.
Doctor's catchphrase, you know, of like, oh, I have this hat now because this hat is cool, and you're just selling T-shirts and mugs to people on Tumblr mostly, but it's fun.
And also the Fez the Stetson gets shot off in the exact same way the Fez does by
Yes.
Dr. River Song, which
Yes.
is great.
Yes, the Doctor gets shot by River Song, spoilers, as they then go to they go to a diner, because of course you're in America. What's more American than a diner?
Diner that's actually in Britain.
I love Moffat's, like, that we're in America, let's hit every single American trope, you know?
And this is the
absolutely
same
brilliant.
diner that becomes Clara Amee's TARDIS, isn't it?
I don't
think
know
this
if
is
it's
the same location, or I'm not sure.
It's been a while since I watched. I think I've only seen that specific series of Doctor Who like once or twice, because it was not very good.
No.
That episode, anyway. So I don't really remember what the set looked like, so I couldn't tell you.
Nice.
But yeah, it's some good commentary. The Doctor and sits everybody down, and he's catching up with River Song about where are they from. They're going through their collective diaries, which is a very cute little bit, and is explained to us very carefully off camera by Amy that they're both time travelers and they meet in the wrong order.
Yeah, this
which is some
feels
necessary
like
exposition.
this feels like a lot of ADR, especially for new American audiences. Oh, this little show called Doctor Who shot here in America. I've heard people talk about this. I'll check it out. I feel like this is a good episode to get hooked on. There is a little bit of a barrier because you're not quite invested in the characters. So when the Doctor gets killed off, you're not really as involved with the story. But I feel like this is a good example of Doctor Who hitting its peak. It's a good storyline to be introduced to.
I think it sets up a really good mystery, with the Doctor dying and then a younger version of him showing up, and I think you can get hooked into that without needing to know the bigger details, like what is a Time Lord, what do you mean he was about to regenerate, like these are huge big concepts to get your head around, but I think you can ignore that and focus purely on the time travel stuff going on in the episode. Like that's the things that I remember, is the really fun. This is like the most time travel-y Doctor Who gets. This is some of the best time travel shenanigans. I miss time travel shenanigans.
This whole season is the most invested you as an audience member needs to be in a season. Every episode has almost every episode has some important plot threads that get continued forward. Like, the Rebel Flash, whatever that episode is called, the two-parter coming up in the middle of season.
Yeah, Rebel Flash.
Yeah. That's an episode that doesn't seem important on paper, but it's tied heavily into what's going on with Amy. Like, this season is tough for people to... I feel like this season is where a lot of people dropped off, because if you miss one episode, then you're kind of lost in the story. Wait, why is Amy now a clone? What's going on?
See, it's really interesting, because I think you are right that this is where more people continued to drop off either way, because like a lot of people dropped off straight at Matt Smith's first season. But I do think because I remember it was around about series 6 that I was suddenly watching Doctor Who by myself.
Same.
Instead of watching it with my family, because nobody else wanted to watch it.
I think the first half, my mum was still really into it. The second half, I think my mum was like, yeah, I think I'll go and watch it on my own at my own speed. I'll leave you to watch it on the night. That kind of deal. And I think she gave up watching... I think she continued Series 7, Matt Smith's final series.
Series 7, my mum got back into it.
Right.
For like a series, and then she dropped off again when Capaldi came in.
Yeah, my mum dropped off like after the first Capaldi episode because my mum and I saw the Day of the Doctor together in cinemas, and we saw Deep Breath in cinemas, and after that she just kind of fell off and didn't come back to it until David Tennant came back. So that was a long gap. Also, in America, this episode was the first one to have a special introduction for Americans. Have you seen this introduction online?
No, I don't think I have.
I'm actually, I'll show you it because it's hard to. Doctor Who Series 6, BBC America opening. Yeah, it was an opening that was designed for new viewers to like understand what's going on.
Oh, interesting. Just a big old exposition dump. Is it
and-
like David Tennant standing on the green screen at the start of the 60th?
No, it's kind of like Legends of Tomorrow, you know, that kind
nice.
of deal.
Yeah.
And everybody really hated it in America, apparently. Like, yep. Everybody really hated it in America, apparently.
Interesting.
Oh, no.
I'm looking forward to sticking in a clip right here. Now there we go. It's not too bad. It is definitely like, this is kind of cringy and a lot of exposition all at once. And was it just one episode, or did that play
the entire season? I think until Karen Gillan left the show. So the first 5 episodes of season 7 as well.
Oh yeah. No, that would you'd get sick of that pretty fast.
Still, not as bad as David Tennant's opening character selection.
Yeah, but that more just that more just looks bad. Anyway, in this diner, they get told that they are going to 1969, and they say 1969 a lot, and then it's like we cut to the credits because 1969 is cool.
Yeah, here the Doctor basically turns to the camera and says, "Space 1969," which is a reference to the TV show that ran in the 70s, Space 1999, which was a Jerry Anderson show, the guy who did Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and shows like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it was a big sci-fi show in the 70s.
You ever watched classic Thunderbirds?
Yes, as a kid, yeah.
The most boring shit ever.
I remember appreciating it. You know, it's an art form, but I did enjoy it.
It is, but it is slow. It is.
My friend had nearly every episode on tape, like 20 huge tapes.
Damn.
Took up like his entire bedroom.
We then get the Doctor Who intro credits, and these aren't my favorite intro.
No.
It's not my favorite intro. I'm not a huge fan of the Storm vortex.
Yeah.
I never really was. It is now an intro that fills me with a lot of nostalgia, which, you know, kind of warms it a little bit to me. But it's far from my favorite. It's kind of bad, and I don't think I've really liked a Doctor Who intro properly for, I don't know, maybe since David Tennant. I think that one's so iconic. The swirling vortex. I like Capaldi. I like Capaldi's enough. The clock one. I like Matt Smith's second intro a lot better than his first intro. I think Shooty's intro is very pretty. It's gorgeous, stunning.
I quite liked Jodie Whittaker's intro, but I feel like it belongs more to like a gothic kind of Doctor Who than her era, which was more
it doesn't fully fit the vibe. Yeah.
But yeah, they were supposed to have a new intro sequence this season. They couldn't afford it. Instead, next season is when they started the movie maker filters all over the screen. So like one episode it was like green, one episode it was like blue. It didn't go well.
After the credits, all of our companions and the Doctor are drinking wine on the beach. Amy remarks that she doesn't think the Doctor drinks wine, to which he's like, oh, I'm 1103 or whatever, you know, specifically saying his age because this is information we'll need to know later on. As then he sips wine and spits it out in disgust because Matt Smith's Doctor does not drink often, ever. Sometimes he seems drunk in at weddings and whatnot, but I don't know if he's ever actually drinking or just vibing. But he doesn't like wine anyway, which is a stark contrast to that one gif I've seen of John Pertwee's Doctor.
Yeah.
Drinking wine.
When the Doctor gave his age here, 1103, I remember watching this on the night and I was shocked. I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of time has passed, because with Russell T Davies, he aged the character 1 year every year. So he, the 10th Doctor only lasted 4 years, which is insane.
Very short lifespan. Yeah, very short lifespan. No wonder he wanted him to come back, you know? He's like, I gotta get a proper run in this body. But yeah, that's one of the things that I really liked as a cynical teenager when I was watching Matt Smith's run in his later years, and again with Capaldi as well, though less so. They didn't mention his age that often with Capaldi, but it was the Moffat's willingness to be like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to age the Doctor up hundreds of years at random intervals.
Yeah, because
I absolutely loved it.
I think it's the Zygon two-parter where the Doctor tells what's the nerd's name? Ingrid?
Osgood.
Osgood. Why did I think
Osgood.
Ingrid?
It's like the opposite of Osgood.
But yeah, the Doctor turns to Osgood and says, yeah, I'm old enough to be your messiah, because he was like over 2,000 years at that point, which is... how old is the Doctor now, do you reckon?
I don't know.
Is
3,000? Does it matter?
Is Shooty's Doctor older? How much older is Shooty's Doctor compared to the 14th Doctor? Because presumably the 14th Doctor is going to die of old age, or
like Matt Smith.
Yeah, but would he? Would the 14th Doctor stay there for 500 years and watch all of his friends die?
That's a really good question. Yeah, how does the 14th Doctor regenerate? How does he decide to regenerate? Because Matt Smith's one is constantly fighting.
Okay, we're back here again. Can he regenerate?
That's true. Maybe he just dies. I don't know. Because he has already regenerated.
And the 15th Doctor technically runs like a clone, I guess. Even, it's the same person, but it's more akin to like a clone with all the memories of the 14th Doctor's final days. But
I guess it is more like a clone.
No, we lasted 7 days without thinking of the 14th Doctor.
It was a complicated era when they don't explain anything. Amy spots a figure standing in the hill, and it distracts her for a moment, but when she looks away, she suddenly acts like nothing happened, and that she wasn't found weird. That's something in this episode that I like. I think they try really hard to make sure you understand how the silence works, because this is obviously our introduction to the silence, where you stop looking at them, you forget they're in the room. Terrifying villain idea. So simple, so effective. Absolutely iconic looking design. Straight up Slenderman, basically.
It's based on the Scream, the painting the Scream.
Oh
yeah. Sounded like you wanted to give me a kiss there, Matthew.
That's just what screaming sounds like to me.
But yeah, technically the first time Amy Pond sees the silence was in series 5, episode, I want to say 11. It's the Lodger, where she's in the TARDIS and Matt Smith's off and fucking around with James Corden. There's a scene where Karen Gillan is on the phone with Matt Smith, and she looks away. She looks concerned as she's looking at something inside the TARDIS, and then she looks away and she's completely fine. That's the first time she sees the silence. So it's a kind of cool little addition to that episode, I feel like. That very forgettable episode.
It's you know, it's very similar to in the 11th Hour, how you've got younger Matt Smith running in the background of that one scene, you know, from the final or whatever it is when he travels back in time. Very cool. Little Easter egg time travel nuggets like that Moffat, because he just loved doing time travel shenanigans. We don't get that anymore. We haven't had that in forever. It's always this is a time machine. Now we've traveled in time. Let's forget about that and do the adventure. Whereas Moffat's like, we traveled in time. That's insane.
I mean, we did get a little bit of that in The Devil's Cord, where
we got a little bit of that in Space Babies when when Ruby stands on a butterfly and fucks up the timeline.
But yeah, time travel has always been like a bus, you know. It's a device to get to a place rather than telling a story about time travel, you know.
But that's what made me fall in love with this era so much, is I love stories about time travel, you know, and I love the complex, paradoxical nature that they pull in, and I think they're so fascinating to watch and think about. Moffat's entire era does so many weird time travel stuff. I absolutely love that stuff, you know.
Especially with River Song, like that arc is his best work. There's some stuff, or there's a lot of stuff in Moffat's era that I don't click with in terms of a story arc progressing over multiple episodes, but River Song is near flawless. That is such a great piece of work there. It's probably the best arc in the entire show, I would say.
It's definitely up there. I think she's one of my favorite characters in media, full stop. You know, I think she's absolutely just fucking phenomenal. So yeah, it's an incredible arc. You're probably correct. I'm trying to think of a character that has a better arc in Doctor Who and a better story than, like, one that I resonate with more, one that gets a bigger reaction out of me more. Like, I think it's done so perfectly. I think, like, Amy, you know, you can find some problems in that, but I like the arc with the Weeping Angels, although the ending still has that time travel logic of whereas you don't get that with Rivers one, you know. It's just it's like a complete package, and even if it's great. It's such a goddamn good arc. What a cool character.
I am seriously thinking about taking the plunge into Big Finish on what they did with River Song, and I'm very curious to see how it all connects, because obviously River Song meets every incarnation of the Doctor, essentially, which I am very fascinated by.
So does Clara.
Yeah,
so
true.
Does Clara.
Oh boy. Well, weird show.
Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. But yeah, the silence are very, very cool. The Doctor quickly moves on to talk about the moon and how cool the moon is. And he's a little bit ominous here, where he's like, you know, humans, I never thought I'd get done saving you, as if he knows that he's no longer going to be saving them. As then a old man pulls up in the background, waves at the Doctor, and then an astronaut climbs out of the lake, and we get just a fucking phenomenal shot of the astronaut standing in the water. Absolutely beautiful, iconic. Like, it's just like that. You could put that up as like a poster and not even have it be Doctor Who, like visibly Doctor Who, and people would be like, damn, that's cool. Like, it could be an album cover. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool. And Doctor Who has always done well with these kind of shots where the monster comes from underneath the water, you know, whether it's the Dalek in the Dalek Invasion of Earth, the TV series and the movie, the Sea Devils, the people, the Sea Witches in The Curse of Fenric. Those were also very good. Like, iconic Doctor Who stuff. And yeah, it's really cool. And also the mystery of who is this space astronaut, you know?
Who is the astronaut? as they lift up the visor, no longer standing in the water, although apparently Rory doesn't see that, because then he's like, who's the astronaut in the water, after they're out of the water. But the Doctor, it seems very calm around them. He's like, it's okay, I know who you are. As the visor gets lifted up, we then cut back to Amy and Rory's perspective.
Yeah, because Amy and Rory and River Song are about 73 yards away from the Doctor in this scene.
Oh God. I really like here is it's, you know, I mean, it's just some basic writing logic of moving back to Amy and Rory's perspective, because if we stay where the Doctor is, obviously there's no mystery set up here, because we get all of our answers straight away. So we cut back to the companions, and we see it from their perspective of the Doctor suddenly getting shot. And I remember as a kid, like jumping out of my seat, like, oh my God, like this story is just starting and the Doctor is already shot. Absolutely insane. And he starts to regenerate, and when you're a kid who isn't like obsessive like we are now, you know, following the behind the scenes news and rumors and set leaks and things like that, you see the Doctor start to regenerate, logic goes out the window, and you go, holy shit, oh my God, he's about to regenerate. And then he gets shot again and he dies, and your little heart explodes, and you're like, what the heck? You know, becomes the best thing you've ever seen on TV. Absolutely incredible.
I stopped falling for that trick after David Tennant regenerated into himself. Because, you know, I was so pissed off with that twist with David Tennant turning into himself. I'm like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. That kind of attitude. And as a result, I wasn't too happy with the way the story got resolved, you know, with the whole with the whole robot thing. I wasn't too happy with that.
See, obviously, because I'm seeing this like when I was 11, you're just much more willing, I think, to suspend your disbelief a lot of the time. So I haven't seen this series in a long time, so I don't know in like with adult eyes going through series 6 if it's even gonna hold up. Maybe it's atrocious, maybe, you know, but I remember it being amazing, and reliving through this episode, it's like, goddamn, truly is. Yeah,
this is the season where I started becoming cynical about what the show has become. You know, because, you know, when the Doctor cheats death, I was like, oh, this is a cheap gimmick. You know, I don't think it really works. I feel like I've been lied to as an audience member and all that. Cause I remember the Monday after the series final aired, you know, after the last episode of the season aired, I was at the dentist, and this little 6-year-old girl was so excited about Doctor Who. She was just amazed about that series final, and I was sitting there like, yeah, but it was shit though. I wanted to tell that little girl how shit her opinions were.
God, you're such a
I was such a
cynical, I'm so right, everyone's wrong, sort of, yeah.
But
I wasn't quite there yet. I wouldn't get there till maybe Capaldi. The first series of Capaldi, I was very cynical.
One thing that Alex Kingston does in this scene is she holds Karen Gillan back, and it wasn't scripted, and Karen Gillan was like, I'm not really sure why she chose that, you know, because she obviously wasn't aware of the fact that Alex Kingston was playing her daughter, you know. So it was a little bit of a confusing thing for Karen Gillan on set, but it really works in hindsight, obviously. You know, it's her protecting her mother, you know. It's really sweet.
Yeah, it is very sweet. But the astronaut kind of fucks off after murdering the Doctor, and all the companions run over to find the Doctor 100% dead. We get told explicitly this is definitely the Doctor. It's not a clone or a duplicate or something like that. This is the Doctor. So, you know, edge of your seat stuff. The Doctor is 100% dead. The characters just said it. There's no way that this is actually somebody else. which
so this
of
is
course it is.
like, even as a kid, you're like, you must have been like, there's no way the Doctor is dead. It doesn't make sense for like a financial point of view. Why would you kill off a main character?
See, I see, because I wasn't cynical. I remember getting sucked. I remember getting sucked into the Doctor being dead, and you know, maybe there was a part where it's like, oh, he can't be dead, and then when the Doctor shows up again and it's a younger version, then it goes in your head, like, for me anyway, I was like, holy shit, oh my god, they've showed the end of the series at the start of the at the start of the series, so the Doctor's gonna die at the end of the series and like regenerate or do something, and you know, we're just getting it. So I thought it was super fucking cool, and I was 100% on board with it. Like,
the decision to burn the body was such a genius idea, because, you know, if you just go away from a scene and they're suddenly at the diner, you could just imagine, oh yeah, Matt Smith has like a bulletproof vest or something, like Doc Brown at the end of the first Back to the Future, when he actually reads the note that's left by Martin McFly, you know. A lot of Back to the Future in this two-parter, by the way.
of course, American time travel.
But yeah, everyone on set was really impressed with Karen Gillan's acting here. Like, she goes all in for it. You know, she is really solid in this episode. Like, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, she's also, like, she's good in this, and I think she's pretty good across the board in Doctor Who too. Pretty fucking amazing. I mean, she's one of my favorite companions ever. But I just watched Douglas is Cancelled. Stephen Moffat's newest show, which also has
Alex Kingston,
Alex Kingston in it as well. Yeah, and her acting ability from 2011 to now is night and day. She fucking phenomenal in Alex is Cancelled. Like just staggeringly good performance. And I come back to this, I'm like, oh, you're acting slightly stilted, Karen Gillan. What's going on?
I'm excited to see it. I felt the same way about David Tennant's acting, you know, compared to 2006 Doctor Who compared to like 2024 Doctor Who. I felt like he was way more emotive and stuff. Like his like David Tennant's and Karen Gillan has always been fucking fantastic actors. Like, I think they're the best actors to come out of Scotland in like the last 2 decades.
Yeah, for sure. What's his name? James McAvoy. He's up there as well.
He's good as well.
Excellent. Yeah.
Morgan Shepherd plays the older version of Canton here. Mark Shepherd, his son, plays the younger version of Canton. So the original plan was to have Mark Shepherd in old age makeup, and he was like, nah, just fucking hire my dad. It's so much more easier. You know, like, my dad's an actor as well. He's played an older version of me multiple times. Might as well. And Mark Shepherd, who we'll see later on in the episode, is an English actor. And he's been in loads of American shows like 24, Battlestar Galactica, Warehouse 13, Supernatural, and X-Files. So he's really had a huge stamp on like Supernatural and sci-fi shows.
I know him most from Supernatural. Yeah, that's where I recognize him from. Because he plays the devil or something.
I don't know who he plays in that show, but you know, when this episode was announced and he was announced to be in it, I remember a lot of Supernatural fans being like, "Oh my god, we're one step closer to Super Who-Lock."
Oh my god.
Do you remember
what an
Super
era?
Who-Lock?
Yeah, what an era. I saw a post on Twitter the other day that was a screenshot of a Super Who-Lock t-shirt straight from like the Tumblr forums. I was like, god damn, I've been thrown back in time. And what an era of Doctor Who fandom that was, eh?
God, it's kind of wild. I've only seen like 4 episodes of Supernatural, so I'm like 1% away.
My mum was really into it for a bit, so I've seen. I never watched all of it, so I've seen maybe like in total 2 and a bit seasons, but never a full season. So I caught like 6 episodes one season, or a few other episodes another season, and so on and so on. But it's fine. It's enjoyable. I think it starts off rough and gets better as it goes on. But I don't know what those final seasons are like. Sherlock, different story. Starts off amazingly, becomes dog shit. Becomes absolute dog shit.
I'm so glad I've never gotten into Sherlock. 'Cause,
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's actually good, but because it took so long between seasons that like I was a different person when each season of Sherlock came out. So I remember really liking those early seasons when I was, young and liked everything. And then those later seasons came out and I was cynical teenager who hated everything. And then that came out, I was like, God, that sucked as well. Moffat can't write. Oh, he's so bad.
I remember my little cousin, it was obviously at New Year's, and we were at a hotel because we were spending time with family, and my little cousin from Ireland was really into the show. She must have been like 8, and she just left, and she was like, I really need to see how Sherlock survives. And I don't know what episode it was, but I think that was when she started hating the show, because apparently the way they write the conclusion to his death and how he escapes death is really bad. Apparently, doesn't make sense.
I remember it being really convoluted. I don't remember exactly how he does it, but I remember it being really complicated.
Are you telling me that a Stephen Moffat script got really complicated? That doesn't make sense. He's such a simple man.
The episode, which is where I gave up, was either a Christmas or a New Year special that was set in the past. It was like old-timey Sherlock, and then it turned out that the whole thing was like a dream in Sherlock's head that he had in like 5 minutes or something when he was getting on a plane or something like that. Like I remember the twist really pissing me off, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this show.
God, Stephen Moffat, genius when he's doing simple things. Sometimes he just goes over.
I think I think he's great. I think he's absolutely great. I do think he gets lost in his own complexity at times, for sure. But I think it takes a great writer to be able to write the complex things that he manages. He brings a creative flair that you don't see with a lot of other sci-fi writers that I really appreciate. There's not many people that can do time travel shenanigans, and there's not many people brave enough to attempt it.
Oh God! Randomly, I just remembered that Neil Gaiman wrote an episode in this season of a show.
Rough.
Oh, yeah.
And his the sad thing with Neil Gaiman's episodes, like recent news and allegations about Gaiman aside, is the sad thing about his episodes in Doctor Who is they never fucking hit right. Is they always got like trapped down by, like, especially his Cyberman one that was like supposed to be a 2-parter or whatever and got crushed into a 1-parter and rushed, and things never quite clicked right with Gaiman and Doctor Who, I think.
I loved his first episode, but I think it suffers from a low budget. It is insanely low budget. This is when Doctor Who started losing a lot of its budget, I feel like. Because a lot more episodes take place in a hotel or a house,
That was something I was going to say. Yeah, watching this episode as well, it feels low budget. Everything is so cramped. Everybody's standing very close together on these sets. And comparing that, coming straight from the shooty stuff, the series 1 stuff, back into this, it's like, whoa. Okay, the Doctor Who didn't have much of a budget, did it? And I remember being a kid watching this, being like, God, the show has got like way more of a budget than it used to have. It looks way cooler now.
I imagine a lot of it is due to like BBC America, plus the fact they actually went to America. But even in this episode, sometimes the lighting isn't quite on point because in the America scenes we had most of the crew in the America scenes were Americans, so they hadn't worked on the show before. Like, it was because of union laws or whatever. So very little of the crew is actually from the UK here. So it's kind of bizarre.
I think the color balance in this episode is really strange. Everything is bright. Yeah. Everything, like all the colors seem to be really turned up to like 10. But
some of it feels like it's home movies kind of a deal. It hasn't been properly color graded and stuff like that.
Yeah, Like the sand is like extra orange. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But they burn the Doctor's body, and old man, whose name I've already forgotten, but is
Canton.
Yes, he says, you guys will see me, but I shan't be seeing you, which is some fun, again, time travel shenanigan stuff. I love it. It's ominous and foreshadowing and cool, and he walks off as the Doctor burns like Darth Vader in that iconic shot. Everybody goes back to the diner, where they're like, okay, we've got to figure out these envelopes. They had numbers on them, you know, we've got to figure out who had number 1, who does the Doctor trust the most, and right on cue, there's the Doctor coming out of the bathroom or wherever he had to.
So
he had to take a piss.
Yeah. So I presume the Doctor wrote the note to himself and said, "Hey, be a couple of hours late. You know, don't bump into yourself." Because it's at least like 6 hours, I'd imagine, or probably more,
true.
like 8 hours. It's probably a whole afternoon, and this is evening time.
Yeah, his one must have been show up at this time instead of this time. But it's very cool. Matt Smith is much less ominous. Seems much less, like he's trying to keep something or that he's at the end of his rope. It's, I think, a really good performance from Matt Smith to be able to showcase, because he's playing the Doctor at 2 different ages, hundreds of years apart. You know, he's playing the Doctor at 1100 and whatever and 908, and or that's like 10, 20 years or something, whatever. The Doctor. No, hundreds of years. Fucking. Sorry, I'm baked. The Doctor. But Matt Smith's performance, I think, is great. He's excited and he's charming and he's funny and he's wacky and he's more like the Doctor we remember from series 5. You know, he's more that impossible man, raggedy man, Doctor that we know and love than this other Doctor we started the series with.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, because at the start of the episode, he's playing the Doctor at the end of the season, and he knows everything at that point. Whereas here, he's like, "What the fuck's going on? What secrets are you guys keeping from me?" He's a lot more.
Everyone's acting really
here.
weird. And it's very good. River gives him a big slap across the face because she's like, this is really mean even for something you would do. And
these are actual real slaps by Alex Kingston, by the way, apparently.
Nice.
So he must have got slapped like 30 times, and at the end of it, Matt was getting upset. Which feels like he don't need to do real slaps, I don't think.
It depends, I guess. Sometimes I think a real slap can really add to a scene if you can feel that impact on camera, and not need the sound effect so much and things like that. But doing it multiple takes would suck.
But yeah, before he gets slapped, he's like, "You bad girl, what trouble do you have for me this time?" And it's like, Jesus, he is horny in this episode. What the fuck is going on?
Horny and ready to go. He is, yeah. It's fun. It's fun. It's a very, some of the horniest I think Moffat's written Doctor Who is in this episode. Well, he's always kind of horny, to be fair. There's always a layer of grime on top.
I mean, there was some very horny lines in The Big Bang, but the Big Bang is named after the fact that Amy and Rory have a bang after the events of the episode.
Yeah, he's great. A great writer. But the Doctor's like, okay, we've got to figure out what this mystery is that's going on, where these envelopes are coming from, what's happening in 1969, etc., etc. And then they climb into the TARDIS to travel back in time. Wowee. So, the episode continues with them in the TARDIS traveling to 1969, which weirdly takes a really long time this time, so that was really lucky because they had a lot of conversations they needed to get done while the TARDIS was traveling into 1969, with the Doctor basically calling out everyone's behavior for being super weird and strange, and how that, you know, if they think that they can hide that from him, they're mistaken, because he's so smart that, you know, there's no way that he wouldn't notice that, as he sits down in a very, very comfy looking leather chair, which, you know, you made the comment when we were watching this episode, like, oh my god, I forgot there were chairs, and it just it made me think of the new TARDIS that we've got, and how the lack of furniture, like, we always talk about how it makes it feel like it's not lived in and stuff, which is true, but it also gives less things for the actors to do.
Yeah.
You know, like Matt Smith sitting down in the chair while everybody else stands up is a statement, you know, like that is you're giving that actor, he's able to portray so much more with his body language than he is if he's just had to stand there and hold on to a rail or something, you know? Like, it's, you've got way more things you can play with. It's the same when you had Capaldi's, you turned the really small cold grey thing into more of his, like, library and his study and things like that, and you had him drawing on chalkboards, and you give them things that they can do in the TARDIS, and you make it a lived-in real environment rather than just a big white empty sphere that nobody, but there's a jukebox, I guess, that we'll never listen to music on.
I like the fact that his TARDIS is also smaller, because it makes it feel more rustic, kind of, you know. It's an old machine. It's supposed to feel small, I think, you know. It's supposed to feel like you're surrounded by things rather than nothing being around you except for a jukebox that only gets used like twice. Like, it's not too impressed with the new TARDIS. This TARDIS is pretty solid.
The new TARDIS I think is impressive when you first see it.
Yeah.
Because it's got that, like, whoa, big, that's cool as fuck, that's so big. And then, like, the more, once you get over the wow of how big it is, it becomes, okay, but there's nothing, it is big, that's right, but it's empty.
All you can really,
I like this TARDIS.
All you can really do with the TARDIS is just change the lights, man. That's all you can do. That's all that's been done so far. It's not, you know, even in like series 1, they could lower down the lights, they could make it green instead for ambience, you know. Even when they change the lights in the new run, it doesn't feel like it's for ambience. It just feels like it's something we can do with the TARDIS, you know. There's nothing to it, I'm afraid.
But just slightly before that scene, we had a brief bit with Rory and and Amy and River chatting underneath the TARDIS console, which is a neat little bit in the TARDIS that we briefly talked about in this episode. It's just cool that, again, it's not even a separate room, but more exploring more parts of the TARDIS that aren't the console is very nice. You know, I like it being a home base. It's very cool.
Like, you know, the Doctor can clearly hear them. They're not too far away. They're just in the same room. The Doctor can hear them. They're having a conversation at a normal
There's
volume.
really thick glass. Between them.
And, of course, horny Moffat would later use this underneath the TARDIS bit for Rory to look up at Amy wearing a skirt. And... of course, horny Moffat is thinking about stuff like that. I don't remember what episode it was. I think it was from a Children in Need special or something. I can't remember. It's been a while.
10 o'clock. Polls have closed on recording. Exit poll. Labor set for landslide. Fuck yeah, baby. Sorry, this is old news by the time, but fuck yeah.
Yeah, we are recording, like, well, not to spoil it, I am going to spoil it, but this is kind of a political heavy episode of Doctor Who. And then, like, in August, we start on with Torchwood Children of Earth, which is a very heavily political episode of Torchwood, because a lot of that is just a lot of that episode is just politicians sitting around going, how many children is acceptable to murder, essentially.
Yeah, Sorry, that was sidetracked. As we were chatting there, I was noticing the time. I was like, oh shit, it's almost 10. Oh my god, it's almost 10. Oh my god, it's almost 10. That's exciting.
Gonna be interesting for sure.
Oh, fuck yeah! I'm so honestly waiting for that moment. 14 years. Fuck yeah!
It's been.
I can't believe it's Keir Starmer. Jesus Christ! But fuck yes.
Oh, I love it. I love the fact about. Sorry to go off on tangent again. I love the fact that Labour used the footage of David Tennant for generating as a. The last time we were in power, David Tennant was just leaving the show. And meanwhile, like Labour MPs are like, David Tennant should apologise for what he said to that lady. It's like, no,
oh my
fuck
god.
off.
I really hope that's that version of Labour that has showed up during this election is going to fuck off, because I feel like all of that is just them. I hope it's just them being tactical to try and get votes.
Hopefully.
from Tories, which is an interesting strategy. But you know, I guess it worked.
Crossed. it can't be worse, at least. You know, it's not that much more positive, but you know.
It's
small
significantly
victories.
better. It's significantly better than it was. It's already it's a step in the right direction. You know. Anyway, where the
tomorrow
fuck
morning is gonna be interesting to wake up to, Phil.
Yeah, to see the actual count. Imagine the exit poll's mega wrong. Tories with the largest seats ever.
But yeah, back to the show.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, the Doctor tells everybody that he's smarter than them, and they're going to 1969 to meet a man. He's got 3 names, and he's the 3rd. I don't remember what his name is, even though they've said it before in this episode multiple times. Anton Delton, Canton Denton, something the 3rd, something like that. Anyway, I think.
Sorry,
I
just
really
before
like the
that.
editing in this scene.
Just before that, inside of the TARDIS, River basically talks about her own upcoming death for her. She's like, "Yeah, that's scary for me, but I'm just gonna go straight towards it." Essentially, that's something about Stephen Moffat's episode, all about fate, the idea of. Yeah, you're heading towards this destination and there's not much you can do to change it. River Song is a character who doesn't change her fate, but the Doctor changes her fate, essentially, by making her a ghost in the... Kind of a ghost, kind of.
Ghost in the machine. She becomes Scarlett Johansson.
And then, obviously, the Doctor changes his own fate in this season, which is something I don't like, but oh well. The Doctor's a trickster. I'm kind of on board with it. It's fine, but
yeah, and also the whole idea of fate in a time travel show throws in so many more different questions and like free will and how does time travel work and etc. etc. But we get the introduction to Plankton, Canteen. And I really like the editing in this scene where it's basically like cutting between the Doctor and the TARDIS having a conversation and getting those questions answered by a different character in a different scene talking to different people, and it's like they're talking with each other but they're not. I also like how stylized this pub is, where we've got like the guys in the agents in suits being like, here, see, like the boss wants to chat with you.
Yeah, the director was inspired by Mad Men. Apparently that's a lot of like the bar scenes in Mad Men. This is what it looks like in that show, which makes sense. It's the same era. I need to watch Mad Men. I've only seen Mad Men crossover with Unfrosted. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
Terrible.
I think I've seen like 5 episodes of Mad Men or something, because it was on a streaming service that I had for a while. I don't know if it's on any streaming services still, but I never finished it. It's one of those shows that is like 20 episodes a season and is like 40-minute long episodes.
Give me a second.
No,
it's like 13 episodes
being
a
long.
season. Give me a second.
It could be. I remember it being long.
Yeah, every season has 13 episodes.
Interesting.
You idiot.
I don't have an attention span for that. That's a lot of episodes. I want 8 episodes.
You watch Doctor Who.
Really
it's
fast.
the same runtime.
But yeah, I mean, I started. I watched the first episode of Lost. The
Yeah,
other
I
night,
need.
'cause
Yeah,
there's
it's
a lot
on
of talk about that
Netflix
on
now,
Twitter.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's on Disney Plus as well. It's been on Disney
Yeah,
Plus
I
in the
know.
UK for ages. So
But yeah, that's a show I've always wanted to get into. But yeah, it's daunting. There's like
yeah,
150
yeah,
episodes.
that's a lot
yeah.
of episodes. Yeah. But they find out that they're chatting to, or this guy's getting recruited by Mr. President Richard Nixon, who is fine in this episode. I think they do a really good job handling the president, Nixon's presidency, because obviously, very controversial president, etc., etc. And I think they do a good job of Riversong weirdly being approving of Nixon as a president. She's like, he did some good things, and Matt Smith's like, yeah, but not enough. Are you okay?
Yeah, this episode is weird with its handling of Richard Nixon. It doesn't feel like we want to be too critical of him, but at the same time,
you don't want to make him like he's not the villain of the episode.
Yeah.
So you don't want this to be like, Nixon, you're so bad, you're so awful, you're slowing us down, you're the reason that this plot isn't moving forward. He's just there because we're in America. Of course we've got to go to the White House. We've got to see the president. And who was the president at that time? Nixon. Oh, shit. Okay.
Before watching this episode as a kid, I was only familiar with Nixon from The Simpsons and Futurama. In fact, today I was watching The Simpsons, and it's the episode with Devil Flanders, and he's trying to sentence Homer to go to hell. And he invites Richard Nixon as a jury member, and Richard Nixon is like, I'm still alive. What am I doing here? I forgot how long Richard Nixon survived. Like he died in 95, 96 or something like that.
Yes, something like that. Yeah, he lived a very long life, and he was vice president before he was president as well. Under Eisenhower, I think, was president when he was vice president.
Yeah, and fucking speaking of Eisenhower, Stuart Milligan, who plays Richard Nixon here, he played Eisenhower in a TV show once. He also played George Bush, and also he's a president in Wonder Woman 1984, the terrible sequel movie. He's playing a fictional president. That terrible movie. Have you seen it?
I haven't even seen the first Wonder Woman movie, and
the first Wonder Woman is okay.
I do not regret it. I've seen clips from the first Wonder Woman movie, and they don't seem like a film I would enjoy, and so I didn't watch it. And then Wonder Woman 2 came out, and everyone said it sucked ass, and so I didn't watch it.
The first one is okay. Cool. The first one is like one of the better DC movies underneath.
Still bad.
Whatever Snyder was doing.
Still, the DC, I gave up on the DCU after Batman v Superman, and then definitely after the first Suicide Squad movie, and it was the best decision I ever made. It was because everyone was just talking about how awful those films were, and I was like, I'm just not watching them. It's great.
Hell, we're only a year away from the new Superman. I'm excited to see what James Gunn is doing.
My Twitter feed is full of just set photos from that, and god damn, that movie looks good. I like the costumes and everybody.
I'm excited about the basic premise, but James Gunn is going under. Every movie will be basically an artist's movie. It's the directors who are deciding the storyline and shit like that. I hope it's good. I'm optimistic. I believe in James Gunn because those Guardians of the Galaxy movies are all great.
Yeah, I'm really, and his Suicide Squad movie was excellent as well.
Yeah.
I'm super looking forward to James Gunn's DCU. I am legitimately looking forward to seeing what he can bring, and I hope it's good because I liked DC more than Marvel as a kid. I was a Batman guy. I was a Superman guy. I was a Martian Manhunter guy. I loved DC as a kid, and then they shot the bed so hard, and I was like, Marvel became amazing. But anyway, that's a weird tangent to go from Nixon onto DC. I mean, he was the Batman of presidents. If we're comparing,
he lived in DC.
But he's talking to that was a great note. He was talking to he's talking to Clanton about how he's been getting these weird phone calls. No matter where he goes, he always gets a phone call from this person. He's really sketchy about saying that it's a little he thinks it's a little boy, but it's actually a little girl. But he's really weird about saying that he's getting this phone call from a child. He's like, man or woman, and he's like, no, neither. It's neither a man nor a woman. Which is you just be like, oh, it's a kid. It's a kid that's phoning me. You know, you would just clarify that it's weirdly like overly dramatic.
I don't know. It feels like a president who's trying to avoid any allegations. Because how else would you explain why this little girl phones you every night?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And, you know, we're speaking about this at a time where American politics are worse than UK politics. Let's be fair.
I'm so glad that UK politics is still really boring.
Oh God,
most of the time. It's my favorite. I'm like, oh, this is so dull. Excellent.
And every candidate is a person of reasonable age who has most of our marbles intact. You know, they're fast on their feet.
Yeah, you know? And they're boring. And they're so boring. Like, Keir Starmer, our new prime minister, possibly the most boring man I've ever watched.
Yeah.
He is so dull. Like, everyone compares him to like a head teacher at a school. Like, he's got head teacher energy. He is.
Oh, he reminds me of my area manager. You know, he's got like area manager energy to him. My area manager is also British and around about the same age, so that's where my comparison lies.
Yeah, goddamn.
Back to Doctor Who.
Yes, back to Doctor Who. In the TARDIS, the Doctor. I really liked this scene. I thought it was very cute. Where the Doctor's like, we're gonna make the TARDIS invisible, which is, I guess, a thing the TARDIS can do. Whatever. And I like how Amy becomes a Doctor Who fan at that moment, where she's like, you can make the TARDIS invisible, and you know, the Doctor just obviously hand waves it away, like, yeah, of course it can. It just takes a lot of energy, so I don't do it. So he does it wrong, and River fixes it. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, this is something that's happened technically twice before. It happened in The Invasion, which is a Patrick Troughton episode. It also happened in a deleted scene in Terror of Zygons. So this is something the Doctor can do, but he never fucking does it. Which feels like it does feel like he should use it more often, right? It's kind of ridiculous that he hasn't.
It uses too much energy. What do you want him to do? You know, it's so hard to do.
Does it?
It's yeah. Plus, he likes it being blue. He parks it out and he climbs out off the TARDIS, promising that he's going to be inconspicuous and not go anywhere where it's going to cause immediate danger. So of course he steps out into the Oval Office, which is just perfect. And the Nixon and the agent dude Canton. Yeah, see, I can remember it now. They don't notice him, so he's just kind of lingering in the background, listening in, taking notes, and it's so great. It's some of the most Doctor Who I've seen in forever, where it's like, oh, there's just he's just wandered into a scene and they haven't noticed him, so he's just gonna be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna listen in. I'm not gonna say anything. It's such a Doctor Who moment.
I kind of miss those moments where the Doctor is so hyper-focused on one particular task, but he doesn't fucking realize that everyone's aware of him. I don't feel like we get enough of that nowadays. I feel like he's a bit too human, which I kind of like in Ncuti Gatwa's performance, but at the same time, there's an element
Russell
to
always makes
lost.
a human Doctor.
Yeah.
Eccleston and Tennant's Doctor were very human.
Yeah.
Like Matt Smith which is one of the things that I think turned people off Matt Smith's Doctor, was he was alien again. And it's actually a mutual friend of ours, Alan. He has been watching Doctor Who for the first time. Over the past like year or something. Nice. I think he watched like everybody. He watched David Tennant as a kid, but then he dropped off it. and he's in the Matt Smith's era. And one of the things he said to me that he was actually really liking about Matt Smith is he said he was one of the few, or he's the only Doctor so far that's remembered the Doctor is an alien and remembered that the Doctor is this weird little freak guy, and plays into that rather than being Captain Sexy of the Sex Club.
Yeah.
You know? Which, yeah, one of the things that I liked about his performance as well as the Doctor is it was like, okay, cool, we're not about sexy blonde women in the TARDIS and being in our tight suits and running around. We're you know, writing notes as Nixon's in front of us awkwardly in the corner of the room.
Yeah, Matt Smith's portrayal as a Doctor is fucking fantastic. I'm glad we have someone like Matt Smith, you know? Because I really hope the next Doctor is a bit more alien, because if we get another Doctor who's in touch with his feelings and just crying all the time, I feel like you would get mostly upset.
It would, like, I don't know if it would upset me, but like Shooty's one, because Shooty's probably one of the most emotional Doctors we've had. We're like, every Doctor we've had, I think, is emotional. I think that's the wrong way of putting it. He's the most wet-faced. Like he's very quick to the waterworks. Whereas you know, other Doctors might get angry, or they might get shouty, or they might get whatever. He gets sad more than anything, which is, you know, a unique quality to his Doctor and something that I can appreciate in his Doctor. He's supposed to be a more open and vulnerable version of himself. But if we were the next version of the Doctor, I don't want to be similar. I like that the Doctor goes through giant changes and we get to basically explore a new character each time. So I would like a more alien Doctor as well after Shooty, for sure.
Yeah, interesting casting with this little girl here who plays young River Song. Sorry for the spoilers, but I'm sure you've seen this episode before. We've spoiled the entire season, basically, but oh well. So the little girl is played by Sydney Wade, who just came off of another project, an ITV project called Marchlands, where she plays Alex Kingston's daughter. So she just played a show with Alex Kingston. That show also stars Jodie Whittaker. So it's funny how every show in the UK just has Doctor Who
It's the
actors
same
everywhere.
6 actors. Yeah, but the UK only uses, like, if you're an actor in the UK, you will go in Doctor Who. It's just it sucks everybody in. But the Doctor tries to run away. He ends up walking into the TARDIS when they notice him, so hard that it shakes everybody inside. I don't understand the scene. I don't get what they're trying to communicate when the Doctor goes, "Ow!" and everybody goes, "Whoa!"
Yeah, everyone does the classic Star Trek ships under danger. Yeah.
It's so strange, but he calls on River to make the TARDIS blue again, which is a fantastic line, and everybody gapes in awe at this thing, and suddenly the Doctor's a lot more confident again when he gets off from the security agents. You know, we see him sitting at the president's desk and doing a funny American accent.
I think the intent here is he fucking teleports like he does in Remembrance of the Daleks. You know, the famous scene where Ace is driving around and he's trying to give directions, and then all of a sudden they swap seats because he's tired of her driving.
Yeah.
he for sure teleports here.
And again, it's a really fun scene. And Nixon and that convinced them to, like, okay, we got to listen to the Doctor. This is, you know, he got in here before you guys. He knows something that's going on. Let's follow into what he's doing. And it's cool. I liked it. It reminded me a lot, this scene in particular, of Rick and Morty. Weirdly, I've been watching a lot of Rick and Morty, but it's mostly just the scenes whenever Rick is with the president, and especially there's a scene with Rick in the Oval Office when he's like, if you touch me, you're gonna die. That's like...
There's a scene where Rick is talking to the president and he mentions Doctor Who. He's like, I'm gonna Doctor Who this bitch or something like that.
The new season of that's very good, by the way.
I'm
enjoying it.
I believe I stopped watching at the season before.
Season 6.
I need to get back into it. I think I want to get back into it from the start.
It's fun. It's one of those shows I watched so much as a, because I was a super cool kid who discovered Rick and Morty in season 1.
Oh my
So
god,
it
same
was-
here.
yeah. So it was. I've
Like,
seen season 1 so many times. Coming back to it is it's like, oh my god, I know these episodes.
When did that
inside and
first
out.
season start? Like 2013?
Yeah,
I believe I
something like that.
binge watched every episode that was available around about Christmas time. So the first 3 or 4 episodes I watched around
yeah.
Christmas time. That was when the show was brand new. And I was a cool kid being like, yeah, you should check out Rick and Morty.
Yeah. I remember it was me and my one friend I sat next to in chemistry class would chat about Rick and Morty constantly while nobody else would watch the show.
Oh god. And then suddenly it all changed in 2017 when
exploded. Then
everyone
it just-
found out what Rick and Morty
blew
was.
up. Yeah.
And people were raiding McDonald's doing the Szechuan
Yeah.
sauce bit.
I'm glad that era's over. I'm glad.
Yes.
I don't think I'm not quite at the point where I am publicly willing to be like I'm a huge fan of Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's still got a stigma attached to it. But I do like Rick and Morty a lot, but I don't want to be associated with the fandom still.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Oh, but also Justin Roiland situation. Yikes!
Oh my god.
It's a lot of
But
situations.
that new
like
season, the new season with the new voice actors for Rick and Morty, don't even notice. I thought
Yeah,
it might.
Yeah,
I
from
thought
the
it was gonna be a
trailer,
bit
I didn't
weird, but-
notice. Like, there's a slight difference, but you could just account that to vocal
in the
cord
trailer,
changing.
honestly, in the trailer, I noticed the change. In the
Yeah.
episodes, I do not. Like in the episodes, it's just like, oh yeah, that's Rick and that's Morty. Like I don't even hear the slightly different voice. It just instantly encapsulates the character so well. It's very good.
That's good.
Yes.
Where were we?
Anyway, while they're chatting in the
but-
Oval Office, they see a spooky man in the doorway.
Yes. You.
Yes. This is our first proper look at the Silence. We chatted about them earlier in the episode, how they look like the Scream painting, etc., etc. I just want to reiterate, best alien design in Doctor Who, possibly ever. I think it's my favorite.
Definitely a
up there with my
contender, yeah.
favorite.
It's-
Yeah.
What works about it is it's so simple. Like, if you're far enough away, you can just mistake it as a human, you know? But when you get closer, it's got that distorted face. It does work.
Yeah, distorted face, hands are
Yeah.
too big, you know, like the suit doesn't quite fit. It's superb. It's terrifying in all the right ways.
And you know,
Such a cool villain.
what works about the silence in this episode is we don't fucking understand their backstory. We don't need fucking backstory to the fucking silence.
I'm curious.
What-
I want to know. Are they like a church or what's going on with this?
What is this obsession with making everything mysterious into, oh, we need to
It needs
know
explained,
the lore
yeah.
behind this? Because the new fucking Beetlejuice movie is going to explain the backstory to his to Beetlejuice and his ex-wife and shit like that.
Yeah.
Why do we need this? Like, the best part about Beetlejuice is he's a mysterious creep. He's a creepy pervert. You know, we don't know anything about him other he just likes to cause chaos. We don't need to know
Yeah.
his backstory.
Yeah, I think one of the things that one of the things that I kind of miss in Doctor Who is a scary monster that is just a scary monster.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that, like, this is a being from another world that is, we can't, like, it's terrifying, you know? And I think the Silence was the perfect opportunity to be like, yeah, these guys are aliens. You forget when you don't see them, so we don't know anything about them. We don't know
Yeah.
what they really want. We don't know what they're really out to get. We don't know where they're really from because we keep forgetting about them, you know, and the more you learn, the less they're fun. This is kind of the same thing happened with the Weeping Angels in Flux, where
I was
you've
going to
got,
mention that, yeah.
you know, the Weeping Angels, each time they showed up got less and less scary, but that's just, I think, overexposure and even more convoluted rules getting added and added to them. But then when Flux comes around, it's like, and also we work for the Division. We're this whole society that can go out on missions and do things. It's like, oh, why can't you just be a scary monster we don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, why do you need to be driven by the same like moral compass as everybody else? Why do you need to be like, oh, actually, but some of us are good, some of us, like, why you can just be something so alien and so foreign that we're just like, oh my god, I don't know what this is, you know, this is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and that's okay. And I think it's kind of some of the stuff that I've liked with the god stuff in this new era of Doctor Who, where these are things we've never seen before that can do things we've never seen them do before, and not offering up an explanation for how they exist. I think, like, I'm totally on board with the salt thing in the end of the universe. Like, as much as it doesn't super make sense, it's enough reason where you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of scary, you know? And I like the nothing guys as well from the outside of the universe in Wild Blue Yonder, where they're just straight up, they're nothing trying to find shape. That's terrifying. The concept of nothing becoming something, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Moffat fell into that trap quite often. He did the same thing with the Daleks in the season 9 opener, where he's like, Clara enters the suit of a Dalek, and everything she says is filtered through, which doesn't make fucking sense, because the Khalids are basically the Nazis. You know, they have all these thoughts in the first place. Like,
I think it's one of those things that sounds romantic and smart when you're writing it down. Like, what if the Daleks actually were trying to say, like, help me, but all they could say was exterminate, you know? Like, you're like, oh my god, that's so deep, that's so cool, but it does completely go against everything we know about the Daleks.
So Moffat was inspired by the idea of memories in the first place. You know, like, the idea of memories that kind of vanish from you. Like, you know, you sometimes forget what you did 5 years ago. Like, something significant happened to you, and it just suddenly vanishes from you. Like, the idea of that is kind of creepy, and I think Moffat kind of does the same thing in terms of the relationship between River Song and the Doctor, because, you know, if you remove a sci-fi elements to it, isn't the idea of, you know, being in a relationship with someone and meeting them over and over and over again to the point where they no longer remember you, isn't that idea kind of like dating someone with Alzheimer's or something like that? You know, it's the idea of no one's looking at somebody's eyes, and just the idea of someday they're not going to recognize who I am. Idea of memory.
There's an amazing line in Capaldi's first episode. It's either his first episode or it's his first episode with Clara, when he's like, do you know what it's like? Like, do you see me? Like, when you look at me, you know, like, I'm still like me on the inside. Like, you know, can you not see that? Do you know what that feels like to have you look at me and not see me? You know, sort of thing. Superb. It's cool. It's cool. Capaldi was a good doctor. Your hot take.
Something happened to my earphones there.
Nice.
Why are you not connecting anymore?
Amy needs to go to the bathroom because her stomach is sore or something.
Yeah. She's got the pregnant.
Because she's pregnant.
Yeah.
She's pregners. Yeah. And when she goes into the bathroom, she finds another guy, the Silence. What a pervert, hanging out in the women's restroom. And
yikes. Don't go. Oh, no.
Another lady comes in, she spots him, she's like, oh my god, are you from Star Trek? Then she looks away, then she looks back at him, she's like, oh my god, are you from Star Trek? Then she looks away, then she looks back at him, and he goes zap, and blasts her into infinity. Just in case we didn't quite understand the whole concept of the Silence, they really hammer it home in this episode.
Yeah, it's a bit too much, but, you know, if will small kids get it if you don't explain it like that? I'm not too sure.
It's one of the, I don't remember it feeling over explained when I first watched it. Yeah, no. So maybe it's the perfect amount. Amy takes a photo of the silence
God.
with
It's
her
fucking
modern, her modern camera phone, fresh from 2011. It pops, it slides up. That was a cool design at the time. Phones that slide. What an era!
Oh,
I
yeah,
miss
this
that era.
This, this was in 2011. This was when 29.8% of the American population had a smartphone. This is the population that had a smartphone. Only 29% of the population. Which is kind of insane.
That's insane. Yeah, that is absolutely insane. But I remember it back then. Like, phones were gimmicky. There were so many different, and everyone was trying to figure out what the next big thing was going to be. Was it going to be, phones that slide up? Was it flip phones? Was it touchscreen? Because touchscreen was so shit. Is it going to be touchscreen with your thumb? Is it going to be a stylus? Was it going to be like the BlackBerry keyboard or whatnot? Like, it was so many different ways that phones could have taken. It was kind of an exciting time in technology. I don't feel like technology has innovated since then.
Yeah, that's the problem. I feel like we're at the stage where everything that could be invented has pretty much been invented. From like VR. There's only so many improvements you can do with VR at this stage before it all feels like it's the same thing over and over again.
I feel like there's a point in like all of human history constantly where it's like a bell curve sort of thing, up and down, up and down, up and down, where like you go back to like the 1800s or something, they're like, oh my god, industrial revolution's amazing, and then everything like was kind of the same for the end of the century until suddenly like it's like, oh my god, war, and then wow, even more innovations, nuclear power, things like that, and then things slowed down again until, oh my god, internet, oh my god, TV, oh my god, satellites. And there's, I think, small periods of nothing until you make that next breakthrough. And I just don't think we've made that next breakthrough. I think they're trying really hard to make it be AI. Maybe it will be. Maybe that is the next breakthrough. But I think it's such a strange one because it doesn't feel exciting. But I'm sure there was plenty of people at the same time when mobile phones were coming around that were like, God, who needs a mobile phone? That's just going to rot your brain. You don't need that. I miss the real world, whatever. So we'll see. In contrast, by the way, you said like 20% of Americans had smartphones in 2011. 2024, 81.6% of people have smartphones. That is a staggering difference in 13 years. Almost the entire from almost nobody to almost everybody has a phone now. Absolutely insane.
Oh, do you remember being a kid and being like, oh my god, I can carry around the internet in my pocket? And now we're like, oh fuck, now I'm on Twitter all day doom scrolling. I miss not being on the internet, honestly.
It's, at the same time, like, my brain is so internet fucking, like, addicted that I can't imagine not being on the internet. As I mean, like, there's pluses and negatives to everything. I would love a world where there was no internet, but everything was still good. But a lot of the good things we have now are from the internet. A lot of the things that I enjoy now are because of the internet. It's just, you've got to take the bad with the good, I guess. My voice is getting hoarse. This is such a long episode.
We've been here 2.5 hours for some reason.
This is our longest in ages. This is taking us forever to get through. And I've been talking so much today. I was live streaming on my Twitch channel for 5 hours.
Sounds like a you problem.
Voice is very sore. But the silence says that it knows Amy's name and it knows Joy's name, which was the lady that had burst like a balloon. And that she needs to tell the doctor something. I don't remember what they say. It's like something that you will you know something that he must not know, or whatever the fuck.
I think
They'd say
it's about the
cryptic thing.
pregnancy, because at the end
Yeah.
of the episode, she reveals she's pregnant in that really fucking terrible slow motion bit. It's like the worst use of slow motion I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. It's
Oh no,
cool.
wait, Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon is the worst piece of slow motion I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. God, I forgot to watch the second part of that.
No, you didn't. You
I
just
have-
don't want to. Why do you want to watch Rebel Moon Part 2?
'Cause part
Wait for
one
the
was
director's cut at
terrible.
least.
Yeah, I think the worst part about Rebel Moon, honestly, is that it's just boring. It's not even bad that it can be made fun of. It's just boring.
That's the problem with every fucking Zack Snyder movie. It's just overly serious and...
Yeah. Usually the cinematography is nice. At least he's got good cinematography most of the time.
Eh.
I don't know. Batman v Superman is like a really pretty movie, I think. And then
It's okay.
It's just drivel. But we go back into the White House, into the Oval Office, as the Doctor and that run off, sent off to go find the little girl who is using the weird name. She's using founding father names. I'm trying to remember which founding fathers. Hamilton is one of them. Jefferson is one of them.
Jefferson.
Jeffrey. The founding father,
Same
Jeffrey.
thing.
I don't remember who the first one was. It's driving me insane. I'm trying to get to the scene where they announce it, and I keep skipping like past it. Answer the phone. Here we go. Let's find out. We're gonna find out in real time. Oh, please move faster, sir. Oh, we can move 1.5 speed. Go. The spaceman's gonna get me.
Jefferson, Adams, Hamilton.
Adams, that was it, yeah. And you know, as an American history dork, I knew those were the founding father names. I enjoyed that was a little thing I was able to go like, aha. And it's another thing in this script where you're doing all the American things in one episode. You got to mention the founding fathers, you got to see the president, you've got to go, you know, it's every single thing that's America encapsulated into one little ball, which I really, really enjoyed. But the Doctor and that, they run off into the TARDIS to go save this little girl, because she's actually at a street, the only street really in the United States where the three of the founding fathers' names are like at a crossroads, because they're all named after the street.
Okay.
Which
I
again, I don't think Moffat knows how kids talk, because is that if you were like a kid, would that be how you would communicate where you are? I guess.
I mean, this is River's song. How
Yeah.
old is this after she became childhood friends with Amy and Rory, or is this before? It's been a long
Before?
while.
I think it's before she goes to
Yeah.
the stuff in America's before, because then she ships over to the UK. I think.
She's born as an actual baby, but how long until she becomes this 8-year-old? You know,
Yeah.
Time Lords. Are you stuck if you're a Time Lord, are you stuck as a baby for like 20 years?
Maybe it's like a Baby Yoda sort of Grogu
God, that
situation.
sounds terrible. God.
Yeah.
Confusing.
Do baby Time Lords regenerate?
I don't know.
I don't know. And if you drop your
Well-
baby by accident and it regenerates, is that like a foul move?
if you drop your baby and he regenerates into like an old man. Like, Time Lords are very confusing.
That's great.
I mean, he'd still be pissing and shitting himself, so there's really no difference, you know. If he regenerates into like Joe Biden or something.
Yeah. I guess I've never thought about it, but I guess Time Lords they must hit a certain age where they just stop aging and they can just become random. But they must develop, because it doesn't make it just doesn't make sense, does it? It's Doctor Who.
Doctor Who is fucked. Yeah, you want to jump back into the episode?
Yes, yes. Okay. So the episode continues with the stuff I was talking about before, with the little girls' names being that of the founding fathers, and everybody getting into the TARDIS to go and save them. They travel fairly quickly into or towards where this house is. It's another closed set. It's another studio. It's another, we're in a building that's definitely a real building, I swear, sort of set.
This set is actually in a warehouse in Wales, and like right next door, they're filming the first Captain America movie right next door.
Oh, wow.
Apparently.
Wow.
So maybe Jenna Coleman was shooting her scenes of Captain America next door while Doctor Who was shooting in the other room. I'm not sure.
Crazy. It's crazy that she was in Captain America before Doctor Who.
I know.
In my head, it's
weird.
backwards. Yeah.
But she's only in it for like one scene.
Yeah. The Doctor and River get some hardcore flirting on in this scene when the Doctor is like, "Oh, you're using your voice that you use when you're talking to someone sexy and cool," and she's like, "But I'm just talking normally," and he's like, right, I see." There's a lot of flirting between them, specifically in this episode a lot. In this last scene, they have like 2 scenes back to back flirting with each other. They just cannot stop, cannot help themselves, you know. Where are we? So Rory's left in charge of telling Clanton about the TARDIS and things like that, which I really liked. I liked his reaction as well to the TARDIS, bigger on the inside. I guess he's our American audience's reaction to it, you know, coming into the TARDIS for the first time, and Rory's left to pick up the pieces. I like his reaction to, he's like, wait, it travels in time and space. Okay, interesting. And thinking that they're still owned by MI6. I think it's cute. You know?
I really like the whole idea of Rory kind of being reluctant, but he's not complaining about it the entire time. He's just like, I'm one step behind everybody else. I have no idea what's going on. I guess I'll just follow you guys around.
Yes. Rory, thinking of Rick and Morty, Rory gives me big Jerry vibes. He's a Jerry coded. For sure.
The thing about Rory is he's not a heavy character in terms of, this is a big important plot point he has. He doesn't really do much in any episode, really. But he's, you still get a sense of his character, you still get a sense of his loyalties and shit like that. Whereas Ryan, tell me one thing about Ryan other than he can't ride a bike.
That was the one thing I was going to say. He had that weird relationship with his dad for like an episode.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's so weird because, I feel 3 people in the TARDIS can work. You just have to... Yeah. Like, I think it works better when one of those 3 people are kind of, like, in and out, kind of, like River Song is. And also Rory was kind of like that in the previous season. He's more of a mainstaying character here, but it works when there's fluidity to a TARDIS team. Like, even in Russell's first era, where Martha joined on some episodes of season 4, I think that works. It's cool, rather than... just one character the entire time. Sometimes recurring characters, but fucking recurring characters recurring characters in the modern era show up once. They have important stuff to do in one episode, and then the next time they show up, like Rose, they do fucking nothing.
Yeah. Although, like, that's not always been the case, because if you like Captain Jack. He was a recurring character that always seemed to have something to do in the TARDIS whenever he came back. Mickey, he never did much, but he was a recurring character that had things to do whenever he came back. There are examples of characters in Doctor... Although I guess I'm talking about this like this is modern. This 20 years ago. Jesus.
Time goes by so fast.
That just made me feel old. Fuck. This I like this final set of them wandering around the abandoned
sewer system
warehouse. Yeah, wherever
it's
the
a
fuck
warehouse
it is that
that leads into a sewer system. It's kind of vague about what this is.
Yeah, I do like there's some nice misdirects, I think, embedded through here, like when Matt Smith puts on the astronaut helmet. You know, it's a misdirect of, oh, maybe he's the one in the and he shot himself. You know, like it's allowing you to plant all these different, come up with theories, and justify them with things like Scott's camera fell over, and justify. Is even the camera's tired? Justify it with those little bits, Amy, River Song decides to climb out to the sewer. We'll jump over there because they kind of wander around for a while, and we get some nice little character stuff, but not much is moving in the plot. And we get a fantastic reveal of the Silence cuddling together, together as just weird alien goopy dudes, and this is just where they chill out. And obviously River turns and runs away from them at this terrifying sight, and then she's like, "Oh, everything's fine, but I want to check again, actually, because, you know, there's, like, something in the back of her head, maybe, that's like, go back down, I don't remember." She goes back down. The doctor asks Rory to go down in a very fun scene where he's like, you know, it'll mean a lot to me, even if he doesn't want to go down, but the doctor's like, well, please do it for me. And Rory does go down. We see River suddenly feeling a bit sick, and there's no more silence about the place.
So I'm
spooky.
confused with this kind of sickness thing, because obviously Amy Pond just felt a bit sick earlier.
Yeah.
Is that her having pregnancy symptoms, or is that a reaction to seeing the silence?
I do not remember.
Because the fact that River Song also feels a bit stomach sick, and she points out maybe it's the food from the prison. Like, that's two people having stomach issues at the same time. Because I thought the first time Amy Pond felt a bit sick, it was morning sickness, but I guess not.
This is where the hardship of not having seen this series in a long time comes in, because I remember the broad strokes, but I don't remember the little details like that. And I need to rewatch this whole arc to really remember. Maybe it's answered in part 2, but I haven't seen part 2 yet. It's, you know.
And why doesn't Rory or the Doctor or Canton get sick? It's a confusing one.
Again, maybe it has an answer and we've just forgotten it, and we're upsetting people in the comments. But Rory and River continue on until they find a door that she must pick the lock off, where we get a really nice character bit with her and Rory, where she's explaining how every time she meets the Doctor, they're meeting in the wrong order, and, you know, she knows him more and he knows her less, but that doesn't.
Other way around, dude.
She knows him less, he knows her more. Every time they meet, because the first time they meet, she knows him the best and he doesn't know her at all, which for River is the last time they meet, because
I mean,
they're moving.
It's not strictly backwards, because obviously the last time we saw both of them together was the Husbands of River Song, which was basically the night before River Song dies. Almost.
From River's perspective, the last time she sees the Doctor is David Tennant. You know. So yeah, it's cool. That's one of the things I liked about their relationship, is that it you know, if you've got a time traveler, you want his wife is also a time traveler. She's just as complicated, and their relationship becomes complicated because of the time travel shenanigans around them. I think it's the perfect companion for the Doctor, for what the Doctor's wife should be. River is perfect.
Obviously this whole storyline is kind of like a homage to the time traveler's wife, and Steve Moffat even went on to produce or create the time traveler's wife for HBO. So he's I haven't seen it, so I don't know what differences he puts into it to make it different from Doctor Who, because I feel like it's a kind of the same story, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope the
So,
silence
yeah.
are in it as well. I hope the silence show up in the time
Well,
travelers. One.
that's the beauty with the silence. Nobody knows whether
No, you
they're
wouldn't
actually
remember.
in it or not.
Yeah,
you know?
you wouldn't remember. Yeah.
The silence are actually in every episode of Doctor Who, tracing way back to an unearthly child. We just don't remember, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And the Doctor will get rid of them by throwing them into the vortex again. River breaks through the door, and they come into a place that looks like a TARDIS console.
Yes.
And it, as you were saying, is also from The Lodger with James Corden.
Yes, yeah, this is
back
the
again.
TARDIS that we were building on the second floor of James Corden's house. Except, oh my god, James Corden's house doesn't have a second floor. So we discover upstairs it's somebody who's built their own TARDIS, and because of a perception filter, it was as if it's always been in a second floor, which is a cool idea for a TARDIS, which I feel like is gonna be the end result of Mrs. Flood. You know, the idea of she's been living in this house for decades. Everybody who's walked by remembers that house always being there. Holy shit! It turns out to be a TARDIS. You know.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I could see that happening. I could see that happening. Well, time will tell. Time will tell. Rory's got a great scene where he has to. River's like, check for any bad guys outside the door. He looks outside and he's like, ah! Turns around. He's like, everything's fine. There's nobody out there. It's completely empty.
Yeah, they don't make audible reactions anytime
No,
they
he's
actually
like,
see. Because, you know, if I saw a monster right in front of me, I would be like, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes on you just in case you come behind me and fucking stab me in the back or something, you know?
Yeah, and then I'd be
You
like,
d- you
hey,
don't look
can you
away.
come over here? Yeah. But I guess if you're exposed to monsters often enough, you stop caring.
Yeah, true.
You know, how many monsters has Rory seen at this point?
I mean, fucking Rory dies like 5 different times this season alone.
Yeah. So he is like, everything is fine out there. As we cut back to Amy giving some fun exposition on the Doctor. We get a Doctor Who line read by Clanton, who's like, oh, who with Doctor Who? And then everybody claps because it's the name of the show. That's the second time they did this joke, because Nixon says it earlier in the episode as well.
God, yeah. I kind of want to see a supercut of every time Doctor Who has been said on this show. How many times do you reckon it's been said? Probably like 400.
100? Ooh,
yeah.
Yeah, you're going that much?
Yeah,
Was it said
it
a
has
lot in
to
Classic Who?
I think so, yeah. And
Yeah.
also just every reaction to the TARDIS. I want to see that as well, because that's also going to be a long video.
Capaldi's is the best one. He's the best reaction to the TARDIS.
Oh yes, in the Husband of River song. Oh my god, incredible.
Rory ends up getting exploded off screen, allegedly, according to what we're led to believe happens to him. Down with River, as we then cut to the Doctor and Amy, as Amy's decided now's a really good time to let the Doctor know I'm pregnant, just as everything starts to kick off. They go running to try and find where this little girl is, and they find a body on the floor, isn't it, that they see? It's Clanton. Clanton's on the floor, and they're like, oh my god, dude, how are you okay? As she's like, I'm pregnant, and then the astronaut shows up, and we're like, holy shit, the astronaut's back. And then Amy's got a gun, and she's like, I'm gonna kill this fucking astronaut, Doctor. And just as the astronaut reveals its face to be a little girl, and then Amy shoots, and she screams, and everything is done in 0.5 speed on YouTube.
It's fucking terrible.
So the audio is terrible. The audio is really tinny. It's really kind of weirdly. It doesn't need to be slow motion.
No.
But I guess at the same time, it's a lot of information happening really quickly. And so you want to make sure nobody gets lost. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe slow motion is the best. It's just fix the voices. It's hard to do slow motion voices and it not sound dumb. You know?
Yeah, especially in like 2011. Nowadays, I think you have the equipment to kind of, or at least you could like overdub it. I feel like they could have just overdubbed it. Have them speak slightly slower, like Doctor, no, something like that. You know? This cliffhanger is probably the worst part of the episode for sure. It just it's too cheesy.
I do like that the first episode back in the series ends with Amy murdering a child. I think that's pretty
Her
good.
own child as well.
Yeah,
While she's
yeah.
talking about being pregnant.
Yeah.
Man, there is a lot of
Excellent.
weird River songs in this episode because River Song is on the beach and she watches River Song
Yeah.
murder the doctor while her mother is pregnant with River Song.
4 River songs in this episode. Isn't
Yep.
that incredible? And 2 doctors. 2 different versions of the
True.
doctor, including the clown. The clown? The clone.
If Moffat were here in this podcast, he'd be like, 4 River songs and 2 doctors. Yeah, that's an interesting sex life. Oh no! Actually, no. Forget about the little baby and the fetus. So 2 River songs and 2 doctors.
Yeah.
Forget about the child.
Anyway, that brings us to the end. On that note of pedophilia, that brings us to the end of The Impossible Astronaut. Superb episode, a fantastic start for Series 6 of Doctor Who. A kickoff to one of the best runs, one of my favorite runs anyway, one of my personal favorite runs in Doctor Who, and one of my personal favorite storylines in Doctor Who. It's so much fun. And we're going to be covering part 2 next week, Day of the Moon.
And I forgot to mention it actually. We're only doing this because it's close to the 55th anniversary of the actual moon landing. So I think
Allegedly, the
Allegedly,
alleged
yes.
moon landing.
I think the next episode comes out after the 55th anniversary, so that's pretty cool. 55 years. My favorite
And we're
thing
going
about
back.
my favorite thing about the moon landing is every time Buzz Aldrin fucking punched a guy. Have you ever seen Buzz Aldrin
yes,
get in
yes,
a
I
fist
have,
fight
yes,
with
yeah.
somebody who says the moon landing is fake? Because it's like the best
Yes.
thing. Like a 77-year-old man just beating people up in the streets. Genius.
It's pretty good. But yes, we shall be back with Day of the Moon next week. Same bat time, same bat hour. In the meantime, why don't you subscribe to us here on YouTube, where you can watch our podcast in video form. We have got lots of episodes, and to be fair, a lot of them are roughly about this long. We talk a lot about Doctor Who. This has been the longest in a while. Surprised at the length of this one. Very, very long. God damn. We got a whole new government for recording this episode. Isn't that crazy? And you can also listen to us in audio form in Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you get podcasts. We have an RSS feed as well, so you can plug us into the podcast app of your choosing. You can follow us on Facebook at Who Watches Who, on Twitter at Watches Doctor. You can follow me. I might be doing more Twitch stuff at something orange. You can do a bunch of other things. Buy my book, Can You Taste the Color Orange? Available everywhere you can get books. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, Scott.
No,
The floor is
no.
yours.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bedtime. 3 hours. Jesus. All right. Bye-bye.